If you want to draw really soulful eyes in your portraits but don't know how to, this video is perfect for you, and I recommend you follow along with what I'm about to say, as I will show you all the techniques I use to create really nice soulful eyes in my portrait. Alright, let's get into how to make our eyes look as good as possible. First off, I'd like to contain the area where the eye will be. I just have these very faint lines, you can see a little bit on the bottom, this kind of boxy slash oval area, and it just designates where the shadow from the eyebrow ridge will cast on the rest of the face. Okay, let's move on to the actual eyeballs. Try to draw two spheres that are as perfect as possible, one under each eyebrow ridge, and try to align them as well as possible. You can use a ruler for this to get the degree, like the angle perfectly right. That aside, I would say the eyelids are the 100% the trickiest part of this whole process. For now, for the sort of basic sketch, I just have two snaking curving lines for the top and the bottom. The bottom one is more of a C curve, just kind of wrapping around the entire eyeball on the bottom, while the top one is more of an S curve. We want a shadow for the top eyelid, so just draw a shadowy line because it is facing away from the light and will obviously have a shadow. The bottom one will have a highlight. For now, just indicate using two lines, one for both edges of the lip, that there will be a highlight there. Remember that. For the rest of the eyelids, continue along the ball that we have previously drawn, and that will contain the shape of the eyelids. To further contain the eyelids, I will take the line that connects the top and bottom eyelids, and I'll continue it to the edge of the eyeball that we drew previously. It's very faint now, you can barely see it. So I'll continue it to that line, and then I'll wrap it around the top to sort of have this nice little top eyelid, like the bare bones of it done. For the bottom eyelid, I will also take where the top and lower eyelids meet, around on the tear duct. It's on the other side this time, and I will continue that line, but I'll stop around halfway, and it'll kind of fade out slowly. Most of the lines are now done, which is most of the hard work, so we're getting pretty close to the finished product. I add in some shading. Depending on where the objects are, there will be different shading. Obviously, the top eyelid, for example, will catch a bit more light, so it'll be a bit lighter. There'll be a nice grading over there. But for the lip of the top eyelid, where it hides away from the light, it'll be much darker. For the rest of the process, it's mostly just fine-tuning your shading. Try to find the lightest areas, add some highlights there. You find the darkest areas, add the darkest ones there. Look at your reference, it'll change depending on the person. For example, with me, I have a lot of shadows to add because it's a bit of an older guy with a bunch of wrinkles. For extra realistic shading, make sure that you don't leave really any hard lines in the final product. For example, when drawing the iris, don't have really an outline there. Just make sure that it's a nice smooth gradient, but it's distinct enough without a line to be distinguishable from the white of the eye. The white of the eye also isn't fully white, it's kind of grayish. It has a gradient going from lightest to darkest. Darkest would obviously be more tucked away. The pupil is just a small little black dot, really, and the iris is just a slightly bigger radius with a gradient going from top to bottom, darkest to lightest, because it kind of gets obstructed by the eyebrow ridge, and then at the bottom it kind of clears up and gets a bit lighter. Add in a little highlight, just take an eraser, kind of just take a little bit out of it. Usually it's like a rectangular shape because of maybe a person sitting in a room and there's a window and there's light from that. That's just one example. It could really be any shape. It's any shape that the light is. That's what it ends up being. And that is pretty much it. This was some basic tips after the main construction of how to do it. That is all for today. I hope this will help you draw your eyes better. And that being said, I will see you guys very soon, and I hope you really enjoyed this video.